What is and you being a good golfer, what's your all-time greatest golf shot?
It's hard to not say my hole in one. I can tell I'm getting the stupid giddy grin that I have. So I started playing golf first time when I was 12. I turned 50 later this year. That's a lot of years of not having a hole in one. I've hit flag sticks, I've lipped out. So it's really tough not to say my hole in one. I'd kind of given up hope. I mean, not really, but and I will admit there's some luck involved, but I hit one a little short, little par three, hit a sand wedge, literally 3 feet by the pin, took one bounce and spun back in like the ball knew what it was doing. So I've hit some cool shots in my life, but again, hole in one is literal perfection. So I'm going to stick with that one.
All right, welcome, boys and girls, to the Whole Story Podcast. My name is Jonathan. That way is Robby Woodard. We're hanging out today on Labor Day, and we just had the picks come out for the European Ryder Cup. So our word of the day for this particular week, if you're still keeping track of our Ryder Cup word of the week, is Ludwig, as in the Ludwig von Liechtenstein. So
Not that guy, no.
It's not Ludwig von Liechtenstein?
No, different guy. You'll see why in a second.
All right. So the picks came out. The European Tour is set. So Robby, why don't you run us through who it is that's there and why?
Yeah, the European captain, Luke Donald, he revealed the automatic qualifiers. They had a tournament this weekend, the European Masters. And it was kind of the last tournament for people to automatically qualify. They do it like on a world's point list, a European or DP World Tour list. So the automatic qualifiers, John Rahm, obviously, you would think he's there. Rory, Victor Hovland, he's had a pretty good year. And then added to the list this week were Matt Fitzpatrick, Tyrrell Hatton, and Robert McIntyre. So those are the 6 automatic picks. Jonathan, that seems like a pretty good squad, especially Victor, Rory, John. I mean, they're all been playing well.
Yeah, it's one of those, they're automatic picks for a reason, right? And the hard part is, coming from the United States side of things, is that some of the names aren't necessarily like TV recognizable type guys, but they're strong contenders. And like you said, I mean, what do you do one-on-one in Rory? I mean, you put him in some matchups, he's going to be intimidating just because of his drives. Victor Hovland, I mean, if he continues the way that he's been playing, it's lights out, right? Not to say that USA doesn't have a chance, but gosh, those auto picks are strong. They're really strong.
You get in the Ryder Cup, Rory with no hat is one of the best Rorys you will ever see. So anyway, so the captain's pick. So Luke Donald had to make some picks, and here's the guys he picked, the other 6. Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Rose, Shane Lowry, Sepp Straka, which is surprisingly, he plays so much on the PGA Tour, you wouldn't even know. Yep. He's from Europe. Nikolai Højgaard, and then Ludwig Aberg. So there's your captain's picks, and our guy Ludwig, he's 23, 24, won his first professional tournament this weekend. He won the European Masters. So I know you're a big Tommy Fleetwood fan. What do you think about him? I mean, it seems like he would be an obvious captain's pick if he didn't automatically make it, right?
Yeah, I was pretty excited. My spirit animal, Tommy Fleetwood, is, if you're on the YouTube thing, I'm still trying to grow out my golden locks so I can be a Fleetwood. Like you said, Sepp Straka, you look at names like that, and if you're even a casual fan paying attention to the PGA Tour, you're going to pick up on that. And then Mr. Ludwig von Liechtenstein, he won this week. So, I don't know if I didn't get a chance to watch with everything that's going on this weekend, but I don't, is that one of those, hey, we got a hot hand. He played really well, showed some discipline. Obviously, it wasn't a one-off type thing. So you'd expect the captain's choices. There's always people that are left out, right? If you take 12 from both sides of the pond of the best players, there's number 13 and 14, which is what people are going to argue about for the next couple of weeks, trying to figure out who should be there. This late in the season, the first thing I thought of was, man, travel's got to be a thing to figure out, right? Like, you're a couple of weeks away. Maybe you're going to try to get over. I don't know if the Europeans would have a little bit of an advantage to be able to hop on a quick plane ride down and try out the course. So it'll be interesting to see what it's like. As we know, whenever they play in the US and again overseas too, the crowd is a real factor in these tournaments. This isn't patrons at the Augusta National, or
Yeah.
I mean, it's not quite Waste Management Tour, but it's still it's a little rowdy.
It is, yeah, it's very right. And they're, the European fans are great. US fans are great when they're cheering on their side. And most of the time everybody, US and European, they contain themselves and things like that. But it's going to be a great atmosphere going to Rome. And so here's the one pick, Jonathan, that I think if I were Captain Luke Donald, I would have made Adrian Meronk, right? Polish golfer. He's won 3 times. And where's the Ryder Cup being played? They're playing it at Marco Simone. Where did he win this year? He won the tournament that was held at that course. So, if you have him on the team, who would you leave out? It'd be tough to say, but I would say Shane Lowry would probably be the one that, maybe could have gotten left out. So maybe Shane Lowry's the Justin Thomas of their team, and he's just going to play lights out. And anyway, so. Yeah, so Jonathan, we got a busy month coming up. Let's give a preview of kind of all the awesome things we got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So next week we have Morgan Purvis, the director of partnership at Old Barnwell, one of South Carolina's newest courses, which I know both of us are sort of maybe not going to ask outright, but we're definitely crossing our fingers, hoping that maybe we'll get an invite over there soon. So, and then the Solheim Cup preview, Christy McPherson, and then. Listen, if you all don't know, Robby's been just working the phone lines over there. And where are we playing in September, Robby?
Yeah, well, let me, before teasing that, so a good friend, Becca Scoggin, grew up with Morgan. Her husband, Aaron, grew up with Morgan in the Augusta area. And then, Old Barnwell in Aiken. So excited about that. Christy McPherson, I went to South Carolina with her. So I've known Christy for a long time now, former LPGA player, played in the Solheim Cup. Excited that she's going to join us and kind of share her thoughts on that tournament because that's coming up. They play in Spain before the Ryder Cup. But yeah, so in a few weeks, you and I are going to go check out a couple of Mike Strantz, a golf course architect who's passed away, but a couple of his great ones here in South Carolina, Caledonia and True Blue. We're excited about that. We're going to have some video, some great interviews, I think, and just a lot of fun kind of documenting all that. And then, man, that gets us through September, October. We can't even talk about it yet. It's just going to, I'm excited about it. I want to tell everybody, but
that's right.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And don't forget, we have our Ryder Cup roundtable. We got some previous guests of the show coming on. People that know a lot more about golf than I do that will have an opinion for sure. So looking forward to hearing some of our good buddies to sit down and just chat it up just before the Ryder Cup. So that'll be a special
that's going to be a good special we're going to do. It'll come out. I think we're going to try to have it come out the Monday before the Ryder Cup. So anyway, but Jonathan, we talked to our guest a couple of days ago. Today is Labor Day that you and I are talking. We didn't want to ask him to be on Labor Day, but if I say the name Callaway, everybody knows the brand, right? The company that make clubs, like they've been doing it forever. We've kind of jokingly, and you got some now, they're maybe a few years old. I had the old Big Bertha. I had some X12. Anyway, we've got the director of custom fitting from Callaway, Michael Vrska, is our guest today. And so we're going to take y'all to that interview right now. Hope y'all enjoy it. All right, our guest today on the Whole Story podcast is coming from the state of California in the Carlsbad area. It seems like every golf manufacturer is out there. We've got Michael Vrska joining us today. He is the director of custom fitting and player performance for Callaway Golf. So, Michael, thanks for spending a little bit of time with us today.
Thank you. I am coming from the World Golf headquarters of Carlsbad, California. So it's all good here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So let's start at the beginning. We try to ask everybody, how did you first get into the game of golf?
Yeah, so my first experience with golf ever, I had an Uncle Carl. I have 2 Uncle Carls, one with a K, one with a C. This is the one with the K. Got invited, actually forced to go to a work golf function. He really didn't want to do it, but he went. And I was a pretty good baseball player growing up and pretty good basketball player, and was really focused on those. This was when I was 12, so it's kind of small town Indiana. So big fish in a little pond type thing. But he really took him like 3 months. He finally convinced me to do it. I was like, how dumb is golf? It's a little white ball. It's sitting there. It's not like baseball. It's not like basketball. It's not a real sport. All those type of things. And he eventually talked me into it. I don't obviously don't remember how he talked me into it. Eventually talked me into it. He took me to this little par 3 course in LaPorte, Indiana. And a true story, we got rental sets, and this place had they were carts my uncle got a cart, and they were like little tubes. So I don't even know how to describe it, but it almost looked like a grocery cart. Anyway, and they had some clubs for me, and in this little kind of canvas bag that we had rented, and we go out, and the first hole was I don't know 110 yards or whatever, and neither one of us knew anything about golf. 90 yards, whatever it was. And he hit a shot and just kind of dribbled out there, whatever. And, I teed up I know for a fact it was a 3 because it was the longest club in the bag. I thought I'm really smart, right? So I'm going to take the longest club for this tee shot. And I made this giant swing and I hit so far behind it. I took a divot, literally probably a foot behind the ball. And the grass actually knocked the ball off the tee. And obviously I finished my swing, and that was my first ever swing. And I kind of looked at him and like, I don't know what to do. So I teed it back up. And I didn't know that was a whiff. I didn't know you're supposed to count that or anything, right? But teed it back up, and true story, I made the greatest, arguably the greatest swing of my entire life. I hit this ball, and it never left the flagstick. I mean, my second swing never left the flagstick as it flew over the flag, over the little bit of grass, and actually landed in the road right behind it, bounced one big bounce into the cornfield. But my second swing, again, it was the most perfect straight flight you could ever imagine in a golf ball. And honestly, I was hooked from that second. That second swing when I made contact and saw that ball fly through the air. And honestly, I don't really remember much else about the round. The only thing I else remember is there's a par 4 there that you literally have to hit over the clubhouse, and they got this big fence. And I thought it was ironic that they were encouraging you to hit at houses, but that's a story for a different time. But that's how I got into it. And it's true. It was true. I didn't realize it then, but I'm aware of it now. I'm one of those people who tend to be all in on something or all out on something. So that would have been the fall of '85. And that's that winter I started reading. I read books and subscribed to Golf Digest and Golf Magazine. I read everything about golf I possibly could. And then the next year, I turned on the Masters because it was really kind of the only golf tournament I knew besides the U.S. Open. And I saw Nicklaus. I saw Nicklaus win in '86. Now I didn't know he was quote unquote washed up and had won in a while. All I knew was it was Jack Nicklaus, probably the only golfer I knew before my one round of golf. Watched that Sunday charge, and I thought it was really cool and played some golf that year. And then the next year when Mize chipped in, that was it. I mean, golf was a big part of my life. Now I stuck with baseball and basketball, mainly because I was much better at it. Got to play a little baseball in college and did some of that. But it became part of my life, literally that kind of second swing off this little par 3 course in LaPorte, Indiana.
That's great. So you had the shot that gets everybody to come back on your second swing. So
yeah, and I don't know what I shot at. For one, none of us knew the rules, so I mean, I probably would have shot 200 that day, even on 9 holes. But that second swing, what I consider my first real golf shot, was one to remember, and I've never forgotten it.
All right. Well, now you're in the business of golf. You're doing custom fitting player performance for Callaway. How did you get there? What was your journey in the working world that leads to that point?
Yeah, so I started off working in the steel industry. Worked for U.S. Steel for a number of years, and I've told the story a few times. Hopefully, if you're young and halfway bright, and I was both of those things at the time at U.S. Steel, they kind of keep promoting you. It's an aging workforce. They really needed younger people to work there. So I got promoted, in my 6 years, I think I got promoted 4 times, which it sounds like I'm bragging. It's really not. I look back and realize they were just trying to keep me. But I guess the good part and the bad part for me is I got promoted into a job I really hated. I hate to say it. I mean, I was making decent money at the time, but really didn't like the work I was doing. And it kind of made me take a step back and was married at the time and had one child at the time, my oldest son, Michael III. And, really kind of did a self-evaluation, like, what do I want to be when I grow up? And realized that wasn't the path for me. If you kind of grow up in Northwest Indiana, it's a little different now as the economy changed, but back then, literally everyone's family or dad or both or uncles worked in the steel industry. In fact, my dad, both my uncles, my wife's dad, most of my friends, all their dads worked in the steel industry. That's kind of what we knew. So anyway, so I realized it was not for me at this point. It took me a while, but I realized it's not for me. And, my wife and I sat down, like, what do I want to be? And this was pre-internet. I think the internet did exist, but not like it did today. But, my wife and I kind of made a list of things I was good at and things that I liked to do. And almost everything on the list was baseball, golf, baseball, golf. So I got every address, and this is old school, like, go in the back of Sporting News when there was little ads. And I found every golf and baseball company I could find in the U.S. And that's not an exaggeration. I know to the day I sent out 63 resume or cover letters. Each cover letter was different, right? Like Louisville Slugger and, Callaway Golf and Wilson Golf, every one of them. I sent out 63 resumes and I got 3 replies. Wilson Golf, Cleveland Golf, and Callaway Golf. Those were the only 3 replies I got. Interviews with all of them. Ironically, I pulled out of the Callaway job because it didn't sound that interesting to me. I got offers from Cleveland and Wilson, and right about that time, we found out my wife was pregnant with my only daughter, my daughter Julia, and Wilson was much closer to where I was living, so I started there. Worked as the most junior engineer at Wilson Golf for 3 years. Went to Adams Golf for 7 years, 8 years, which was just an incredible time of my life. I'm sorry, getting my days lined up. 10 years down in Plano at Adams Golf. Really 10 of the best years of my life, and so grateful for that, and really got to meet some great people and do, I consider, some really great work with a great team there. Then went back to Wilson Golf, ran all of R&D there for 7 or 8 years. Really good times there. And then actually got out of golf for a short period of time, although I was still consulting both in golf in the sporting goods industry, but actually did some marketing for a friend's oil and gas company. Again, was doing consulting work in the space on the side. And then 4 years ago, got contacted. They're creating this new position and wanted to know if I wanted to do that. So yeah, I've been came into the industry in July of '99. So just over 24 years in the golf industry now. So almost all of it in R&D. And now, again, very focused on custom fitting and really what the future of custom fitting looks like, kind of more big picture stuff rather than I certainly worry and care about what's the right shaft for you and how to fit a golf ball today, but really focusing on how do we do that 3 years from now, what new technologies and new tools and devices and information that we can provide to help people. So that's a 40-minute answer to your 1-minute question.
Well, I was actually going to follow up on that. You said 1999. So what does the technology look like over the last 20 some odd years? Like how does that change besides, the normal, like, is there a sweet, I'm not very good at golf. So like, is there a sweet spot? What type of shaft should I use? And I just learned the other day that if I wanted to, I could even replace my own grips. So like, how does that get into the technology and what you're doing?
Yeah, so I came in the industry at an interesting time. So again, I got 99, and 99 was really that first wave of real engineers. Ping and Callaway specifically had a little more done some advanced CAD work that some of the industry wasn't getting it, but kind of the late 90s, kind of 96, 97, 98, 99. The industry really changed. It got out of, and no offense to these people who came before me, they did great work, but it was really a lot of ex-players who had worked who were working in R&D and were more about shaping. Like, I know what a good club sounds like. I know what a good club feels like. I know how to shape a club that players will like it. So, before that, it was much more. It wasn't as much R&D as some kind of let's create something we like the look of and see if it works. And again, then kind of the late 90s came in, and there's a big influx of real engineers that came in the industry from aerospace, materials background. Again, coming from US Steel, that's what my main area of expertise was at the time. And again, I was one of many engineers who came in the industry and really started using computer-aided design three-dimensional, really, and being much more scientific about it. So I was right on that tipping point in the industry. And I look at my career now, and so much now is driven by, especially at Callaway, being a leadership position, that in our AI technology. Working with our engineers and machine learning, we can do things. And again, I'd like to think I'm reasonably smart, certainly have a lot of experience, very proud of my career, but clubs are being designed now that I literally couldn't think of, right? And no one can. That's what the great thing about artificial intelligence is, right? We get good data. We get a way to analyze the product. We ask the right questions. We turn a supercomputer on and have it run thousands and tens of thousands of iterations to solve problems that would take humans almost infinite amount of time. It can solve, and we still have to then prototype it and test it, and does it work the way that we think it would. I think some people hear a supercomputer and you just press a button and a golf club gets spit out. That's really not how it works. You have to have amazing people who know how to gather the right information, but then know how to analyze the information you get and how to create tests that validate real world to that. So, I kind of look at myself as really kind of a bookend from the career, kind of those guys who got in the industry from kind of 95 to 2000 and then are still in now, and kind of came in maybe 2020 and on. 2000 to 2020, there was a lot of really good innovation done. And it was really more driven by, ideas and bright people. And now it's really being taken over by, much more advanced PhDs and things like that, which I think is great because it's just more data driven. It advances faster than ever. We can solve much more complex problems than we could ever solve before with those tools. So again, when I look at my career, when I got in was very fortuitous, and now being in a place like Callaway, who's literally leading that, it's a great blessing as well to be able to see as that technology really ramped up. And again, seeing that first ramp up in the late 90s, and now seeing that again, that acceleration, it's been really interesting. And again, I truly feel blessed to make that my career.
It sounds like machine learning might make me a good golfer someday. That's what I'm hearing. Like you're coming up with the perfect golf club for the worst golfer, and then we're gonna be good now.
I've always said this: we can help you be better, right? There's certainly there's a skill set that has to be required to hit great golf shots. But if you get in the right clubs, we can help you be better. We can minimize misses. And that's really what fitting's about. When I look at what I'm doing now, what I'm focused on, it is those incremental changes that we can make, help people play better. If you're 10 over the top with an 8-degree open face, I'm not going to hit. I can't turn that into baby draws in one swing, right? But I can make that more repeatable. I can bring your dispersion down. I can help your miss not go so far right. So, we're not miracle workers, but we can help every golfer.
Well, that's actually how I got into my Callaways. So I didn't start playing golf until I was in my mid-20s. Got done with college baseball, still wanted to swing at things, went out to the driving range. It was fun to hit it far. I think my first set of clubs was like the $100 clubs, including the bag. I graduated to the Dick's Sporting Goods, $150, including the bag. And then 2 years ago, I think I was out in Missouri. I was at a golf course, rented a set of clubs, nicest bag and clubs I've ever had in my life. And they were Callaways. And I still remember this shot. I was 250 yards away on a par 5 playing a best ball tournament. And I hit my 5-iron 275. And I'm like, oh, well, I should get better clubs. And so now I've got, they're used, but I have a set of Rogex Callaways. And I put my driver in the bag because my 5-iron goes straight about 250. So I'm like, let's just keep using this for a while instead of shanking stuff into the woods. So,
there's obviously we always recommend people get professionally fit. I mean, we can solve problems quicker. We can get to root causes faster. But we certainly understand there are players with budgets, and unfortunately, there's still some players out there with some really bad misconceptions that are not good enough to get fit. We do know there's some players who, just of fear, right? They feel like they're going to be judged. And I always tell people there's nothing that they can do that we haven't seen worse. There's nothing. I've got a couple stories that no matter how bad your swing is, I can outdo you. In fact, nearly killing a tour player on a driving range in 2 swings. But But yeah, there is that self fit. Like you can't accidentally get into something that really works for you, and we love to hear that, right? We'd rather you know kind of take out some of those variables and help you. But if you got if you have a 5-iron, you're hitting 250, you are literally in the top third 0.3% of people on Earth who can hit a golf ball that far. So.
And unfortunately, I still shoot around 100. So there are some missing pieces to my game, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
If you're shooting around 100, you're in the top 50% of players globally as well. So I love data.
Jonathan's a lefty. He's got, because he has that baseball swing, he's got like the Brian Harmon waggle, but he de-lofts his clubs so much that he's able, and just with his swing, he's able to kind of crush the ball. So it's fun to watch.
As long as he doesn't have 17 Brian Harmon waggles, I'm okay with it.
It's all hit by a 5 or 6, maybe.
Yeah. I've tried to bring it down some.
Okay, good. Let's keep going. Let's keep bringing that number down. Speed of play is important.
So my history in clubs, I actually found them in the shed. The first clubs after the plastic set of clubs that my dad cut down one of his old sets, and the whole thing can fit in the screen because it's that small. It's a True Power, and of course, back then you shouldn't do that because they weren't weighted for a kid. But so that was my first set of real clubs. But at some point, my dad had the Callaway X12s that he passed down to me when he got the X14s. So nice. I've enjoyed some Callaways throughout my playing days as well. So let me ask this. You mentioned, and we agree with you, even though we haven't done it, getting fit for clubs is going to help. Obviously lessons, practice, getting better, all that. But if somebody is deciding, hey, I'm going to purchase new clubs off the rack, I'm going to use like the online fitting questionnaire that, most manufacturers and stuff have now, where it says, hey, tell us about what you do and what feels good, or, going to get it professionally fitted. What is kind of the path you would suggest?
Yeah, so I can't. I'll go to the grave saying this. We always recommend players get fit, and one of the most important parts of the fitting is actually the pre-fit interview, and that's the part normally where the players just warming up, right? Just whacking balls, stretching around, and that's where we really want to understand, what your needs are, what shots you hit well, what shots you don't hit well. Budget's a key part of that conversation, right? Hey, this is what I have to spend today. Those are all fair questions. So, that pre-fit interview, you're also going to get to know the fitter. The fitter's going to get to know you. You're going to talk about, hey, I can destroy a 5-iron off the tee. I've literally given up on every wood. Most of my misses are left, or most of my misses are right, or I have fats and thin shots, right? So to understand, what do you play on one course? Do you play on lots of courses that have soft sand or firm sand? Firm greens, hard greens, all of those things are things the fitter is going to take in. He's also going to want to know, what clubs you've liked in the past, what clubs you haven't. So, we want players to go in and welcome once golf is your game. If you've been to the range a few times, or Top Golf a few times, or and you've played a couple times, and you say, hey, I'm ready to go. I want to make golf my game. We recommend you get fit. I am pro lessons. I want to be crystal clear on that. And if you're a 5'9" male who weighs 180 pounds, and you'd rather, just buy something off the rack, then you can, because that's kind of the average male height and, weight. If you're a 5'3" lady, then, you're probably right in that middle of that bell curve, and you'll probably be fine. But what happens all too often is a player gets started. They're afraid to get fit, or they're not willing to get fit, or they don't think they're good enough to get fit, and then get a hand-me-down. And that club you just showed is probably like literally a triple X stiff. There was a 130-gram shaft, and they start swinging, or they get their buddy's shaft, right, or their buddy's glove, and the shaft's too stiff or too light or too heavy, and they play for it for a year or two, and guess what? They're ingraining their swing on clubs that don't fit them. So when they do finally take lessons, it's going to be way harder. And it could be things that are, those first few swings, those first years and months, really ingrain things that are going on in golf swing are going to be permanent. So, we really recommend players get fit. You don't have to spend $5,000 to get a good fitting. Set your budget, make that clear. Because that really is going to set you on the pathway to then go take lessons, knowing, hey, this is the proper weight, this is the proper length, and to get started. And I hear that all the time. What if I take lessons and I need a different club? you know, if you're taking lessons, it's going to take you a while. We can certainly make some loft or lie adjustments, you know, on that. You know, especially with adjustable drivers, we can tweak the loft up or down, you know, do a little face angle changes. So there are ways that even if you get fit now and you really do get lessons and you really do make some progress quickly, there are small tweaks we can make to keep you in those clubs for a long period of time. You know, there's really no way that you're going to outperform new clubs in 9 months. It's just not possible. So I understand the fears. And again, when I can talk to players individually about some of those things, and hopefully things like this helps get that message out. Again, I am 100% pro lessons. If you're getting started, please go take some lessons. But if you're not willing to get fit for your clubs, know that you could be creating things that are difficult for your body to move properly.
So what do you see as the difference then in the club fitting? We agree. I think, you know, going to get fit for clubs is awesome. What's the difference in going to, you know, manufacturer Callaway directly versus one of these box stores where they do club fittings and they have all the different options to choose from?
Yeah, so I mean that really it's just, do you want one brand or do you not? I mean, you know, PGA Tour Superstore, Golf Galaxy, you know, those just to name two, worldwide golf stores. You know, there's lots of quote unquote box stores who do an amazing job at fitting. We provide training. I know other OEMs provide training. There's some really great fitters out there. You know, I think sometimes that those type of things get a bad name, and I want to be crystal clear. You can get a great fitting at those places. Certainly go to your local pro. Some of them do fittings, but yeah, if you go to a Callaway fitting event, hopefully this doesn't surprise anybody, but we're going to fit you into Callaway. That's what we do. And you know, we hear those questions about, and I have, again, obviously I promote Callaway. It's part of my job. But as long as you go to a brand that has as many options as we do, if you look at us, we have multiple different heads that, you know, for different ball flights and spin rates, multiple different irons, sole widths, top lines, offsets, spec packages. You can come to a Callaway, and there's a couple other, just the biggest OEMs who could probably do something and can do something similar. It's really an issue if you go to one of the smaller brands and say that only has one or two options, right? That's when the problem comes in. Obviously, we recommend you go to a Callaway fitter. We know they're trained. We know the extensive training they go through, the product training, the fitting training, understanding ball flight, understanding launch conditions, using top of the line technology like Foresight launch monitors, always having the latest, greatest shaft options. And there's value to that. But there's certainly nothing wrong with going to, again, one of those box stores and getting fit and having other options. But so, yeah, you can get a great fitting experience both places. Again, the critical is to be honest with your fitter, to go in with an open mind, but to be honest with them. If they give you a club that like, hey, I hate the look of this, tell them that. What we don't want to do is get done with the fitting and they're walking up to the counter. You're like, well, I really don't want to buy these. He spent all this time or she spent all this time fitting me. Be honest. Hey, ma'am or sir fitter, I know you think this thing is great for me, but I don't like it. You know, what else you got? There should be other options there. And again, whether it's a big OEM like us with lots of different hybrids and fairwoods and irons and wedges, we can fit literally every golfer on earth, or going to a PGA Tour Superstore or Worldwide Golf or a Golf Galaxy to get those options. So again, there's pluses and minuses to both there.
You mentioned look, and you asked this question the other day on your Twitter account. You said, hey, what's most important to someone when getting fit for irons? Is it look, sound, feel, forgiveness, distance, other? I responded to you. I think you probably knew it was me. I said confidence, and you said, tell me more about that. And I think in my thoughts that the combination of all those things, especially if you were to go get fitted and you are, man, I feel confident that when I step on the course, these are going to perform and help me improve. What would be your answer to your own question there?
Yeah, so I think I posted a video. I can't remember if I posted a video or just
you
did follow up on that. But yeah, so and again, the answer to that is what's the most important to you, right? One of the other person responded workability. So if you're a player who's a plus handicap and you want to be able to fade into that back right pin, or you want to be able to draw it off that bunker to get, then that is important to you. But just need to understand, and your fitter would tell you this, hey, great, we'll get you some workability in there, but understand by definition, workability is the opposite for forgiveness, right? Somebody like me, who I don't like seeing the ball go left. I don't want to see the ball go left. I want to see it go straight. I want to see it fade. So, a lot of players, they'll say, oh, I want a bigger top line. I want a little chunkier sole. I want some offset because that's easier to hit. I look at that and all I see is, oh my gosh, I'm going to hook that. So that is the opposite of confidence for me. So what I described in, I think it was a video now. I don't tweet that. I tweet kids a couple times a week, but I should keep better track. But what I said then and what I stand by now is it really is about you, right? Some players make, and the thing that I do want to hit on is all too often when we say what's most important, we hear the same answer: distance and forgiveness. Distance and forgiveness. Well, that's great, but what happens if this iron has a little bit tighter dispersion and this one goes 5 yards longer? One of those, most of the time we get both in one package, but one of those, which one is truly more important? Do you want to hit it 5 yards farther, or do you want a little bit tighter dispersion? Do you want to make it really hard to hit the left side? Well, if you do that, that means more fades are going to come into play, right? So again, it was the point of that quiz and the point of my response in the video was you really need to pare it down, right? When you say confidence, that means different things. If you're a high handicapper, you're probably thinking, I want a thick top line, I want a pretty big iron because I want to be able to miss it heel and toe, and I want some offset. I look at that iron and my head starts exploding because I'm going to hook that. That's the opposite of confidence for me. And yet, if I look at like our new Apex MB blades, right? I'm a low single digit handicapper, but I'm not good. I look at those and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't hit those. But a tour player is going to look at those and go, wow, I can flight it up and down. I can do left and right. So I think it's getting out of, confidence. Let's drill down. What does confidence mean to you? Wow, you know what? I chunk a lot of shots. Okay, that I can help with. Let's look at some different soles. Maybe you need some more bounce. Maybe you need a wider sole. Or man, I am so sick of slicing it. Great. Let's get an iron that can help with that. So again, it's drilling down to really understand maybe what your big fear is, if you want to think about it that way, and what your big miss is, or if you're a better player, what's going to take you to that next level.
Yeah, I was thinking back, like whenever I started golf, if I had tried to go in for a fitting, I think one of my biggest things, not necessarily the embarrassment part, because I was like 25 and I could do anything, but rather I don't know enough to even know how to answer some of those questions, right? Like we wanted to ask you about lie angle, and honestly, I don't know if I know what lie angle means after 15, 20 years. So how do you get past some of those explanations, or how does that work in a fitting so that everyone's comfortable without feeling intimidated?
Yeah, that's a great question. And obviously the good fitters are going to be able to ask those questions, right? And the good fitters won't ask you what lie angle you need, right? They're going to figure that out during the fitting, but they do want to know, again, some of the things I've talked about is, hey, do you like your irons now? Have you hit some of your buddies' irons? Did you like those? What did you like about those? Have you had any irons that you tried that you hated? What did you hate about those? Right? Those are questions that you don't need to know much about golf. You just have to have lived your golf life. Gotcha. And to answer those, the fitter may ask, hey, do you play at a course with a lot of rough, or do they keep the rough pretty low? Again, you might not understand why they want to know that, but that's going to help them determine, sole widths and bounce and blade length and some other things. They may ask you about, hey, are the greens you play really firm, or are they more soft? Again, now we're going to look at more descent angle and spin, peak height, some of those things. Now, if I asked you what peak height do you want, even really experienced golfers have no idea, right? And some of them don't even know what those words mean.
Just what you see on TV, right?
So yeah, exactly. So
I want the ball to go up like that.
Yeah, but somebody like me who's a high ball hitter, I would do anything to be able to hit a stinger. Again, I'm a low single digit handicap. I'm a decent player. I can scrape it around, but I can't hit a stinger to save my life. So when a lot of people go, oh, I just want to hit it higher. Again, that scares the daylights out of me. I can hit it a mile in the air. I have 3 shots: high, higher, and highest. Those are the only 3. So again, when we want to get really drilled down in what's to you, and then understand, because you may say, you may say, oh, I hit it too high, and the fitter will take note of that, and we get you in, and let's say you're hitting it, and maybe you're not. Maybe that's actually a pretty good window. Then that's an opportunity for the fitter to say, hey, why do you think you're hitting it too high? I'm looking at your launch angle and ball speed, and that's actually a pretty good window. The player might not understand that. Maybe they play with guys or gals who hit it really low, and they're the highest person in their group, so they think that's high. And in reality, it's the other 3 knuckleheads who need help, and you're actually maybe hitting it great.
So if you're going through your golf life journey, right? And let's assume that at some point you do get fitted. How often do you go back? Is this once a year thing? Are you getting new club? Like you said, you're probably not going to outgrow you're not going to become so good that 9 months later you need a new set. But
I've been very consistent on this. And if you're a serious avid golfer, then there's no reason not to try to get fit every year. But that's something you start the fitting with. Part of that pre-fit interview is, hey, I saw that you launched a new Paradigm. Hey, Callaway fitter, I saw you launch the new Paradigm driver this year. I'm seeing John Rahm with it. I'm seeing Xander win with it. Man, that technology, that 360 carbon chassis looks really cool. I love the look. I want to hit this. But just so you know, I got fit 2 years ago. I like my new driver now. Can you beat this? There's nothing wrong with that. You need to be upfront with the fitter on that. And then you have to decide, that fitter gets you 11 yards in a 15% tighter dispersion. Hey, the fitter did his job, right? Then you have to be honest. Well, hey, you did it. You did beat it. Or, you know what? I got you 1 yard. I got you 2 yards. A good fitter is going to be honest, saying, hey, I only got you 2 yards today. I really can't beat what you have. Now, again, are there people out there who don't always do that? Of course there are, right? And I'm not saying, but most fitters out there don't want to make one sale. Most fitters want to be your golf club guy or golf club gal. And selling you something you don't need is not in their best interest. They're going to want to get somebody who wants to come back, because they know, guess what? In a year or two, those wedges are going to wear out. And there's going to be a new club in 18 months that you're going to be excited about. And they want to build those relationships. So again, most fitters are going to, if you're upright and honest and say, hey, I'm hitting my driver pretty good, but man, I'm really intrigued by this new one. Is it better? How much is it better? And then give it the old college try and let that fitter show that. You'll be surprised. Again, I've been in this for 24 years. The technology really does advance. It really does march on. But, there can be unicorn clubs that just fit you better. And, 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, then technology is going to improve. But that's the fitter's job to prove that to you, to show that to you, and for you to see that. But now taking a step back, most people won't do that. Once your driver's 3 years old, you are almost for sure leaving some distance and dispersion on the table. Really 2 years, I would say. Look at irons. Once you get to that 3 to 4 year mark, you're almost for sure leaving something on the table. There are exceptions if you're playing true blade irons. Those don't change that much. We're really proud of the Apex MBs with some things with shaping and using some tungsten in new ways. Even those advanced. Wedges are a little different because they wear out. And you really do need to be replacing your wedges every year, 18 months, 2 years at most, to maximize spin and to keep that up. In putters, I think you need to look for the revolutions, some big things that happen. Just to stay up to date on that and get fit when it needs to be. And I want to just not finish the whole thing, but finish when we're talking getting fit. Getting fit for a golf ball is so critical. And I've said this before, I've tweeted it. I would rather you play the wrong golf ball, but use it all the time, than use 12 different golf balls in a round. The unpredictability of launch and spin, the differences that you're going to get around the green on iron shots. One lands in the middle of the green right next to the pin, and the next one lands 5 yards short, and you don't know why. Well, maybe the last time you hit a really low spin ball, and this one you hit a really high spin ball. One time you hit a great chip and it rolls out right to the hole, and the next one it checks up. Well, was that you, or was that the golf ball? If you're switching them up all the time, you don't know the answer to that. It's a very unpredictable game on that. So again, golf balls, find one, ideally get fit for one, but even if you're not, pick one and stick with it.
So I shouldn't be playing the balls I find in the woods. Is that what you're saying?
That is the biggest answer for every fitter, because every fitter should talk about the golf ball. When we're talking about an iron fitting or a driver fitting, the golf ball matters. Jonathan, you're not alone. Unfortunately, we hear that way too much. Answers like whatever I find, whatever my company bought this year, whatever my buddies give me. Yeah, those are all, we don't like to hear those answers, mainly because we know that it affects your golf game negatively.
Well, I'll tell you, I play Callaway 2 Chrome Soft. Is that right?
Yeah, in fact, that is correct.
Yeah.
He has not been fit for him, but so the whole fitting process is just fascinating. I feel like we could ask you this all day or ask stuff about it, but let me ask this. I know The Apex series, you mentioned that is kind of the new thing. The Apex Pros, I think, are starting to ship on September 8th. I even saw you responded to the Hackers Paradise today on Twitter that you talked about. We don't have wedges. We have a 10 and 11 iron or something like that, or you had a picture of it on your desk. So, I mean, what are some of the new cool things that Callaway is doing on the equipment side?
Yeah, so our Apex Pro series, and this is truly geared to better players. So, Jonathan, no offense, they're probably not right for you, but actually with your speeds, it might be interesting. But dispersion doesn't have quite the forgiveness you'll be looking for. But yeah, our new Apex Pro series, we're really excited about these. We've already had a couple players, Chris Kirk, I can't remember everybody else, put them in play. You'll see virtually all of our players switch over the next couple months. The engineering team's been working, R&D been working a long time on these. We have an MB, which is a muscle back, our CB, which is really a player's, finely tuned cavity back. But we've done some different. We've got tungsten just to move that center of gravity in ways that really hasn't been done, especially in this type of iron. And then you get the Apex Pro, which has a little more technology, cup face in the 3, 4, 5 long irons. So even in a smaller package, get some speed out of there. It's really all about being able to mix and match in combo sets and get fit for what's ideal for you, and about consistency. So, we do have other irons like our Paradigm and Paradigm X irons are really forgiving, really long, a lot of technology baked in there. Probably a little more, Jonathan, your speed, and maybe Robby, you as well. Again, so the latest and greatest is Apex Pro, but Paradigm, which we launched in January, is still going strong. It's I believe we've had been the #1 winning driver on the PGA Tour this year. I know we've been the #1 winning driver on the ladies LPGA, on Champions Tour, as well as the DP World, which is the European Tour. I know we're #1 in wins on those 3. I think we're #1 on the PGA Tour as well. It's been a really great year for our products. We have an incredible R&D team, most of it, again, driven by AI, but really driven by amazing people. And then, I get to help people find the right one for them, and along with literally hundreds of fitters around the country who do that day in and day out on an individual one-on-one basis. So, Odyssey continues to be the #1 putter brand. I think every once in a while I hear people aren't aware that Callaway owns Odyssey. I think it's been 24, 25, 26 years that's been the case, but we still do. Odyssey is part of Callaway. We've been the #1 putter in golf and the #1 putter on tour for more years than I can count. And we've got some great technology there with our white hot insert, 2-ball putter from alignment, as well as some really cool MOI and forgiveness things going. So it's really great being part of this big company that produces not only so many products, but so many great products for individuals, right? When this Apex Pro series comes out, we're not saying everyone should go buy it. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that, hey, we have for this player segment, we recommend you go get fit, and we'll get you dialed into what's perfect for you.
Now I want to go get fit for one of those. Maybe that changes everything.
It might. And that is one of the things, is especially with your speed, you're an anomaly being a high handicapper with it sounds like maybe plus tour speed. That's so when we look at that, we'd want something that's forgiving, but also something that doesn't, that has enough spin to keep it straight. So you'd be an interesting fitting candidate. I look forward to someday, whenever you're ready, to helping you get dialed in. It'll be interesting, because that's not the norm, as somebody who can hit a 5-iron 250, and it sounds like it maybe go 250 sideways sometimes as well. So.
This is the reason why I use the irons. They go straight. Like,
yep.
My irons are fair. I got an approach wedge with the new set of clubs, Callaway.
Yep.
And I've got a yard that I've got enough room to play with. I'm dialed in from I say dialed in. I'm usually like 20, 30 feet one way or the other, right? So about 50, 60.
If you're 20 or 30 feet, again, people need to understand what a good shot is. If you're 20 feet from the pin with even a wedge, that's probably tour quality. I think PGA Tour is around 24 feet from 100 yards. So, I'm not quite tour quality. My problem, Robby and I just played the other day. My problem is, like, I'll hit a ball 300 yards and then I'll be 40 yards out and I'll take 3 shots to get to the green, because I haven't found the wedge that works for me yet, but I'll get there. Well, maybe we need to talk about grinds and understand your attack angle, and sounds like may need a lesson as well. But
lesson wouldn't hurt.
Between equipment and some teaching, I bet you we can get you dialed in pretty quick.
Yep. Well, you've listened to a couple of our podcasts. We ask everybody because again, we love golf stories. What is your, and you being a good golfer, what's your all-time greatest golf shot?
I finally got a hole in one this past year, earlier this year. So it's hard to not say my hole in one. I can tell I'm getting the stupid giddy grin that I have. So I started playing golf first time when I was 12. I turned 50 later this year. That's a lot of years of not having a hole in one. I've hit flag sticks. I've lipped out. So it's really tough not to say my hole in one. I'd kind of given up hope. I mean, not really, but and I will admit there's some luck involved, but in getting a hole in one. I think Ben Hogan only had one or two, and I think there's a lady in Northern California has like 48 of them or something. I can't remember she's the world record holder. She's not as good as Ben Hogan, and yet she has literally 40 plus more holes in one. So there's some luck involved. I get that, but I hit one a little short, little par three, hit a sand wedge, literally 3 feet by the pin, took one bounce and spun back in like the ball knew what it was doing. So I've hit some cool shots in my life, but again, hole in one is literal perfection. So I'm going to stick with that one.
Where was that? What course? What hole number?
Goat Hill Park,
Nice.
which is really famous course in Southern California, which deserves all of its fame. The vibe there, what the team's done there, John Ashworth, Matt Janella, and some others, the thing they're doing there to keep it, generally the best they can, reasonably priced, but really just a fun, great vibe with dogs and kids. And I've got a buddy of mine, actually works at Callaway, literally down the hall, who's, a +3 or +4, and, competes in club champions out there, to people who, couldn't break 100 if their life depended on it. They all go out there, they all have fun, they all get along. It's just a really great atmosphere. So a pretty cool place to get it.
You remember what hole number and how far you were?
111 yards on the 9th hole. I
That's awesome.
Flew it about 112, 113. Like I said, it took one bounce and spun right back in the jar. It was a pretty comfortable number for my wedge, so I didn't have to do anything like hit it hard or easy. It was just kind of a full sand wedge for me, and it happened to look good from the moment it left the face. So, that's happened before too, and they weren't one. So finally happened.
Well, congratulations. We're not that far behind you in age, and we still are both over in the hole in one category. So there's still hope.
Yeah, I don't know what, like a few years ago, I had this conversation with somebody, and I've lost track. I actually did expel. I don't know how many holes I've played over the years, but I know about how many rounds I've averaged over the years. I don't have it anymore, and I forgot the number, but it was depressing. I will say I got all the way done and realized I was 0 for however many literally thousands of holes. It did not make me feel good. Thankfully, I've lost track of where that Excel spreadsheet went.
Well, you got one now, so it doesn't even matter. You can always tell.
It does not matter. I have
That's right.
one, and if I never have another, I literally know I have this stupid grin. I can't not get happy thinking.
Yeah.
One.
I've been close and I'm happy. So,
Yeah, I've had, I won't go into too much, but twice I've hit the flag stick. But you could only see like either the very top of the flag or the half of the flag up. So twice I've had like 180-yard walk, thinking like maybe this is the time, and both times they were a foot or two away. So to actually see it was pretty cool too. To actually be able to watch every second of its flight and roll was special.
Well, as we talked about earlier, we do a quick 9. Hopefully none of these are going to catch you too off guard. So the first one, you should be able to figure this one out. What was the favorite course that you've played?
This is serious bragging. Cypress Point. I've been pretty blessed to play Cypress a couple times. That is my favorite golf course on earth. I mean, realistically, I'll probably never get to play it again. I'm shocking. I even got to play it once. So I've been pretty blessed, and not because of me, but because of my career and the jobs I've had and the companies I've worked at, to play a bunch of world-class golf courses. But Cypress is very special and my favorite.
Well, you've taken one that's on many people's bucket list. What course is at the top of your bucket list now?
Right now, National Golf Links or Shinnecock. I love link style golf. I've been fortunate. I've only been once, but got to play the courses at Bandon. Got to play not Seaside Links, but the sand based up at Sand Valley up in Wisconsin. I've got to play some other really good links courses in the U.S., but I don't think anybody would argue the two best link courses are National Golf Links and Shinnecock. And I've never been on them, and realistically, I probably never will. But I'm going to keep trying.
So since you work for the golf company, how many sets of golf clubs do you have? Do you own?
Ooh, way more than I should, but way less than most people think. So I am not. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I'm not a club whore. Which is a terrible thing to say. I'm not somebody who switches clubs that often. New Apex Pros come out, I'll put those in the bag. I'm still playing the Apex Pros from 2.5 years ago, so I'm not a guy who switches in and out. If I had to guess, I have probably 8 or 10 sets of irons in the garage, probably 20 or 30 wedges, probably the same number of drivers. I got a lot of putters in there. I probably have 60, 70 putters. I don't know how many. I've given a lot of stuff away over the years. In fact, there's some stuff I regret. There's been clubs I've designed that I'm really fond of. Some of my favorite clubs that I don't have any of anymore because a brother or a buddy, I got done with them and they really liked them. So, and interesting, I've got clubs in my garage that mean almost nothing to me that I really do need to donate. So I got to find that happy medium of keeping the ones that I wish I could have kept and probably being a little more generous. I have donated a lot over the years to junior golf programs, but I still have a decent little collection in there.
You got any of those Odyssey jailbreak putters? Those are going for pretty good money right about now.
They are. I've never ever sold a golf club that I've gotten. I don't sell any. I would never. My job and my career is more important than that, and I do not have a jailbird. There's a couple floating around the office. I've given them a twirl. They look great, but I don't think they quite suit my stroke. So I actually kind of wish they did. They look really cool, but
they do.
And I'm much more about getting clubs that fit me rather than just getting clubs. So
there you go. Well, who's the most? Maybe you can't say who's the most famous non-professional golfer that you fit.
That I fit. Well, I've never even thought about it. I don't know about my most famous. I got to spend some time with Steve Young and fit him for a little bit of club at the Celebrity Tahoe event. I don't know what they call that anymore. A few years ago, and I really enjoyed spending some time with him. Just really great guy. Again, I'm not trying to brag, but I've got to work with tour players and some semi-famous people. But yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. That's one I would need some actually real brain time to think about. Steve Young comes to mind because that was one of my. It's just a really cool experience.
Steve Young would be great.
Yeah, he was a great guy and better player than he's actually a better player than he thinks he is. At least back then he was. But yeah, good guy and really enjoyed that.
I could borrow his clubs too, so that's always fun.
Yes.
So who would be in your dream foursome?
Well, I'm going to answer this two ways. My dream force would be my oldest son, Michael III, who runs marketing at Asher Golf. My youngest son, Tyler, who's a sophomore in college. And then, my soon-to-be son-in-law, my only daughter, gets married here in 3 weeks, and her soon-to-be husband, Seth. So, to play with my kids and my son-in-law would always be best. But I know you're wanting a different answer than that. So if I had to go pick famous people, I'd love to play golf with Michael Jordan one time. I think that'd be amazing. I've got to play with tour pros in the past, and I know how good they are, and that's just demoralizing because they're literally different human beings. But getting to play with somebody like Jordan would be really cool. So he'd be part of it.
No, playing with your kids is the right answer.
Absolutely. That's a great answer. All right. So what's your favorite club in your bag? Driver, wedge, putter?
If I like all of them, otherwise they wouldn't be in the bag.
It's like all your kids. You can't pick one.
Yeah, and I've told people that if they have a club you hate, you need to get it out of your bag. It's hurting you, not helping you. I don't know. My sand wedge, I keep saying the one I made a hole in one with. I keep saying I'm going to take it out because I'm planning to do a nice little shadow box, but I really just need to build another one. I have that ability. I know that I do. So I don't know. The Apex UW, which I play as a 5-wood, I really like that golf club. My Paradigm 3-wood I honestly can't. I know we'll make one better, but it's the best through it I've ever hit in my life, and it's not even close. It is so much better than anything I've ever hit before. I'm going to go with Apex UW, my 5-wood. Since you're forcing me.
What do you use to mark your golf ball on the green?
I have 2 ball marks. One is it's actually pinned on my Twitter. I think it says, I'm a good putter and people like me. So it's a big coin. And then I have a little, but what I joke is the hubcap, right? If your ball, it could get in the way. And I have a little tiny Odyssey, really thin coin. So I have 2. I actually collect ball markers. I probably have 50 or 100 of them at home that actually don't do anything but sit there. I keep saying I'm going to put a collection up and put them on the wall, but so far it hasn't got there. So,
Do you have a favorite golf course logo?
Favorite golf course logo? Sleepy Hollow in New York's pretty cool. I like that one. I know there's lots of ones I'm probably forgetting. What's the is it Fisher's in New York? By the way, I've got the place. I have a friend now who's a member at Sleepy Hollow, so I'm going to check that one off one day. Fisher's Island's pretty cool. White Bear Yacht Club, again, another one I haven't got to play, is a really cool logo. I'm sure there's other ones. Those 3 kind of come to mind quickly.
Sure. And finally, what is the best thing about Callaway that most people don't know about?
I don't think they realize just how many amazing people are here and how many people go in to make a golf club. We're not curing cancer. I know that. We're not solving Middle East peace crisis, but the people here are really passionate about helping people play better golf. And that's something that I've literally made a career on, right? I pay for my house and sent my kids through college because I really do care and I want to help people. I mean, I want to help people play better golf. I want to have them love their golf clubs and spend their hard-earned money on the right golf clubs and use the right golf ball. And there's a lot of people who have that same mentality here, who are really passionate about what they do and really are trying to do their best to help other people enjoy this great game, right? You don't have to play golf. It's recreation, right? It's supplemental to your life. But it's a big part of people's life. It's a big part of my life. And I want people to enjoy it in many of the same ways that I have. And it's great being around other people who have that similar mindset of, they want to do their best, and obviously for themselves and their family as well, but to help others. And again, we realize it's not life threatening, but it's passionate. It's a passion play, and it's part of our lives. And we spend 40, 50, 60 hours a week doing that.
Well, like we always say, apparently it's the same whenever you work at a golf club place, that it's who you work with, right? It's the people that you play with. It's the people you work with that can make or break almost anything. So, Michael, thank you so much for coming. Gonna have to talk to my wife about whether or not I can get custom fit for those pro golf club sets. See if I can maybe take the next couple of years and try to make the tour. But if you're on Twitter, on social media, you can follow Michael at @VGolfman. Don't forget to check out CallawayGolf.com. And if you put a little slash on the end, custom-fitting, and you can see if maybe the new Callaways are going to be the right club for you too. So for the Whole Story Podcast, Michael, again, thank you so much. This has been great. Love hearing all your stories. See you next week.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Story Podcast.